So good evening, everyone. Welcome to our evening Sutra lecture. We begin with our Dharma request. 欢迎大家到我们今天晚上的讲无量寿经。我们先来请法，所以大家请合掌。Please place your palms together. We invite the presence of the triple jewel.
请大德桑听，为此法会及一切众生，请转妙法轮，教导我们如何疗伤脱死，离苦得乐，速证无生。Will the Sangha with great virtue, out of compassion, for the sake of this assembly and all living beings, please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach us how to leave suffering and attain bliss and end birth and death, and quickly realize non-birth.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Namo Sadanto Sujedoye Alahadi Samya Sambuddhoje.
Namo Sadanto Suchedoye Alahadi Sanya Samputoshye.
无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in billions of eons. But now we see and hear it, and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. So all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, the Venerable Master, Dharma Master, and all good and wise friends, both present and online, Amitabha. Welcome to tonight's Sutra lecture. Today is June 30th, 2022, and we're here at Berkeley Buddhist Monastery. We have the opportunity to learn about Amitabha Buddha and his Pure Land. I know many people devote their lives to reciting the Buddha's name. Is there, maybe check, there's something with the sound? Dharma Master's mic is off. Your mic is off?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Amitabha.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I can see somebody called, so very appreciate your calling in to let us know that Jing Fosher's mic was off, because otherwise you will not be able to hear the Jing Fosher's Dharma sound. Okay, so tonight we will begin by reciting the Buddha's name, like always, a chance to invoke Amitabha Buddha's presence in our hearts. So 我们开始来念佛，可以说请阿弥陀佛到我们心中。无量寿，无量光。
好，念南无阿弥陀佛声号。好。
南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南
可以了，我们就开始。好，诸佛菩萨、仙公上人，以及在座的法师，还有我们这个在座的这个佛友，还有我们线上的一切佛友，大家应该是晚安啦。目前也。
So all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, Venerable Master, Dharma Masters, and all good and wise friends, both present and online. Amitabha, good evening.
我们今天的经文是在104页，104页这个经文，然后呢有五个偈颂5个偈颂，那这个5个偈颂呢，它是属于劝属方面的偈颂。
So tonight we will investigate 5 verses from the Sutra, and these 5 verses are, you can say, encouragement. The Buddha is encouraging.
好，我们一样的之前呢，我们来念诵一下，然后中文，然后再英文这样子。
So let's read the Chinese together, page 104.
好。
假使一切人具足皆得道，尽慧如本空，一劫思佛智，穷力即讲说，尽受有不知，佛慧无边际，如是智清净。寿命甚难得，佛是以难自，人有幸慧难。若闻精进求，闻法能不忘，见净得他清，则我善亲友，是故当发意，摄满世界火。 彼过要闻法，会当成佛道，广集生死流。
好，英文
有吗？105页。
没有。
Okay, let me start. Just one moment, please. Let me get the sutras over here. We only have page 104. So let me look at it. No, I only have to page 100. Give me 1 second, please. Sorry for the... Let me get the text from our website here. Okay, so we're on page 105. So I'll read it here. Kenda. Kendama?
Yeah.
Okay. Suppose every person fully realized the way and had the pure wisdom that sees inherent emptiness. If they, for billions of eons, pondered the Buddha's knowledge, exhausted themselves in explaining it, even at the end of their lives, they would not know it. As the Buddha's wisdom is boundless, clear and pure in this way. Human life is extremely hard to attain. Meeting the Buddha is difficult as well. Having faith and wisdom is not easy. Therefore, upon meeting the Dharma, one must seek it with vigor, keep it always in mind, treat it with respect, and greatly rejoice. Then such a person can be my good spiritual friend. Accordingly, each person must make this resolve. Even if the world goes up in flames, I will endure it to learn the Dharma. After I become a Buddha, I will rescue all beings caught in samsara's flow. Okay?
OK， 好，这个所以这个劝文啊，今天讲了就没有啦。那后面我们就讲阿难释迦牟尼佛再继续跟阿难来讲法。那所以这个我们讲过前20句它是佛的偈颂，后面劝赎，所以今天我们讲了就讲完了这个总共30个偈颂。
有20个，然后再5个。
在我们上次讲5个，所以
30个。
有5个10个嘛，10个再加上
Okay,
前面的20个，总共有30个偈颂。
So there are 30 verses that we've just explained over the last couple of weeks. There's first, I think, 20 verses, and 最后10个是劝赎。The last 10 verses are encouragement from the Buddha.
好像这个第6句呢，它是讲假使一切的人都具备充足了这个得到了，那他们这个纯净的这个智慧呢，能够知道这个法本来是空的，所以呢也就必须力竭这个万亿万劫这个施求佛的智慧，这个就是第6句。
So the 6th verse talks about how if somebody, or maybe ourselves, maybe somebody you know, if everybody was able to realize the way and had pure wisdom that sees the inherent emptiness of all dharmas, of all phenomena. And if they, for billions of eons, pondered the Buddha's knowledge, and it goes on here, but they would not know the Buddha's wisdom.
好，第7句呢，就是讲穷力集讲说啊，他就是说，他竭尽一切的这个力量来说讲，并且用一辈子的尽寿犹不知啊，用一辈子的这个寿命啊，也都不知道这个情况怎么样因为呢，佛慧无边际，因为佛的智慧呢，它是没有边际的，你是不知道的然后呢，如是自清净，也就如此自达，这样到达这个清净的这个地方。
So if these people who had realized the way all explained this, what they understood, and spent their whole lives doing it, they still would not understand the Buddha's wisdom. The Buddha's wisdom is boundless, clear and pure in this way.
Yeah, 他是没有拖泥带水的，非常清净。好，第8句呢，人的这个寿命很难得啊，就是我们每一个人能够得到这个生命呢，是非常难得的。然后呢，佛来世啊，佛世啊，就是说佛来那个世间也是非常难得去碰到的，男子啊，难得碰到的，那人有信慧难，人呢有信心智慧，这些也是很难的。你要相信这个佛法也是很难的。所以呢，你假如听到若闻精进求，所以你听到这个佛名呢，能够精进来去求取，来求取学习佛法，或者是来念佛这些。
So human life is extremely hard to attain, and meeting the Buddha is difficult as well. And when you meet the Buddha, having faith and wisdom is not easy. Therefore, upon meeting the Dharma, we must seek it with vigor and keep it always in mind.
好，第9句呢，就是说听闻闻法呢，能不忘啊。就是说学习佛法的，听闻佛法的，不会忘记。见到见境得大清啊，他见到这个经法，非常的喜庆，非常的高兴。昨我善亲有事故当发意呢，就是说我们的这些非常善良的亲戚朋友好友们呢，都应该要来就是发起这个大的这个道义，就是大道心。
So we must seek this Dharma with vigor, keeping it always in mind, treat it with respect, and have great happiness, greatly rejoice. And then such a person can be my good spiritual friend. I guess you maybe say good and wise teacher, Kalyana Mitra. Accordingly, each person must make the following resolve.
好，第4句呢，就是说这个，假如这个世间呢，3000大千世界呢，都充满了这个大火，大火，这个火在烧啊，然后呢，避过要闻法，他也会冲过去，他也都不怕这个大火来烧，也要冲过这个大火呢，然后呢，来修行佛法，会当成佛道，然后去听闻佛法以后呢，就可以来成佛道，最重要以后呢，成佛道以后要广济生死流，就是来广度救济这些 在生死流乐这一些众生啊，就是来度众生。所以成佛道最重要就是要来度众生的。
So even if the world goes up in flames, I will endure it to learn the Dharma. After I became a Buddha, I will rescue all beings caught in samsara's flow.
好，那我们来后面呢，来就是用这一些句子的这个劝属的句子呢，我们来就是有一些故事来跟大家分享。他像这个呢，就成佛道都要来度众生。那这个在《阿含经》里面呢，就有一篇，这个它的名字呢，就是说，佛陀真的度众生吗？是不是这样子的来度众生呢的一个故事？那这个今天我们来分享这个故事。
So I have a story for everyone. This story is titled, Does the Buddha Really Save Living Beings? This comes from the Agama Sutras.
阿含经里面的，那这个呢，他这个有一次呢，这个佛陀就是在摩羯陀国，那个那兰头的地方去有说法，他就住在这个一个那罗村的地方呢，那这个他住在那里，这个村上呢，他有一个卖衣服的人家的一个芒果园中间。
So I believe the place is Magadha in Sanskrit. I'm not 100% sure, but from the Chinese it sounds like this is, the Buddha was in Magadha. If it's correction, you can let me know. And this is where Nalanda University, I think maybe used in the future became, but Nalanda. And he went there to speak to Dharma. And in the village, there is a man who sold clothing. And this was in the midst of a mango grove.
在芒果园中了哈，然后呢，他这个那时候那个村上啊，拿罗村的村长呢，因为他家里他这个村长呢，他都是做刀子的，做刀子锻，就是制造这个刀子来为生的，所以呢，他就人称他为刀师，这个就是刀的这个师傅啦，刀师。
So maybe not Nalanda University, but this village was called Nalanda. So in this village called Nalanda, there was the chief of the village, and he specialized in making knives. He was very good at making knives, so he became called the master knife maker. Master knife.
Yeah. 他刀的师傅。那这个刀的师傅呢，村长他去见他的一个老师，这个老师呢应该是外道的，这个老师呢叫做尼乾子，尼乾子啦，就是他的老师。那这个老师呢，他就是说外道啊，他就跟他这个刀师讲啊，你去跟他去辩论啊，去跟七坛啊，去跟佛陀去辩论啊，把它变成他没有哑口无言，你去算去跟他辩论一下这样子。
So this chief, maybe we call him master knife maker, he went to meet his spiritual teacher, his religious teacher, and this religious teacher was from another religious group, not a Buddhist. His name was Ni Qianzi. And so Ni Qianzi told this master knife maker, oh, you should go and meet the Buddha and out-debate him. You should really, kind of debate the Buddha and make it so that he has nothing to say. He is kind of speechless.
所以呢，那这个尼前师就是说啊，老师啊，有什么方法可以来给契坛呢，来跟他辩论，然后呢，那这个他的老师跟他讲啊，你去跟这个辩论啊，他看他是不是可不可以普度众生，让一切的众生都能够来得安乐，就是来问他这样子，是不是他去？刚才我们讲了，佛陀要普度众生嘛，那他就跟他问这个，你是不是佛陀去普度一切的众生呢，都能够得到安乐？
So this knife maker, Niganthra Putra. Okay, Niganthra. Okay. So Niganthra told this knife maker asked Niganthra, his teacher, what method can you give me? How can I out-debate the Buddha? So this teacher, Niganthra, told this knife maker, well, the question you should ask the Buddha is, can you save all living beings? Can you help all living beings find peace and happiness?
所以呢，他跟他解释说啊，假如说他答是的话呢，那你就因为你会质疑他，你怎么不对一切的众生来说法？那就是说一切的众生因为我们知道佛法它是度有缘人啊，没有缘的人他是不度他的这样子。
So if the Buddha says yes, he saves all living beings, then you tell him, so then why don't you share the Dharma with all living beings? Now for us who are from the Buddhist background, we know that the Buddha teaches the Dharma based on those who have affinities. But he doesn't teach it to those who don't have affinities.
所以呢，他就听了以后要普度众生，然后就去真的去问这个佛陀悉檀啊，他说悉檀啊，你是不是对一切的人来说法？然后有一切的人呢不跟他说法。
你是说现在已经去看佛陀了？
对啊，他去了，他去跟他问这个问题了。
所以他就问你是对一切的人说法吗？
对。
So
就问佛陀，对。
So then this knife maker went to the Buddha and asked the question, so do you speak Dharma for everyone, or do you not speak Dharma for everyone, for all living beings?
那他就答说我是对一些人来说法，然后对一些是不会跟他说法的。
So the Buddha's response was, for some I share the Dharma, for others I do not share the Dharma.
那这个他就跟他讲，释迦牟尼佛来跟他解释就是比如呢，有人拥有3块土地第一块是非常肥沃，就是很好的土地啦。第二块是中等的，第三块是很贫瘠，就是说不好的，很多石头没有土没有肥料这些的。它有3块土，有3块地这样子。
So the Buddha said, let me give you an analogy. So imagine somebody had 3 pieces of land, and one piece of land is very fertile. The second is, you could say, okay soil, kind of middle grade. And then a final piece of land has very bad soil, just extremely infertile. There's no really real nutrients. It's just kind of dry and hard, and rocky. It's just got, no real ability to grow anything in.
他说这样子，村长就是刚才那个道士村长跟他说你知道那些用他的生命，全部的生命来投资，来跟我出家来修学佛法的一些比丘比丘们，这个就是讲出家人呢。这些人呢，就是像非常肥沃的土地一样的，所以呢，我也是非常会来乐意跟他们说法，给他们全部都能够了解真正的善法。
So village chief, this analogy can be compared to those who come and learn the Dharma. So those who are extremely fertile, these are those who leave home, go forth and become monastics with me and want to learn the Dharma. These are the bhikshus and bhikshunis. They are very sincere in learning and practicing. And so for them, I am delighted to teach them the Dharma, to help them truly understand the way.
所以呢，他也是佛陀也讲，我会用我的一生的这个清净修行的这个身教佛陀他的这个来教法，来展现，来教化他们，因为来给他们来听法，他们听了这个佛法以后呢，他们都可以安住在这个非常好的地方来修行。这个当然就是说就是修行以后他们都需要能够得到利益来成佛道的。
So then I use my lifetime of experience and the teachings that these pure teachings, to teach these disciples, to really show them the way, and I help them realize, you could say, true freedom, a heart and mind and body that's peaceful and at ease, and I help them really cultivate to be a true benefit for themselves.
好，那这个师生又跟他讲村长这还有呢，就是在我的在家的弟子呢，我的就是说刚才讲出家的，那现在讲在家的这些优婆塞、优婆夷，优婆塞我们知道是男众出家，在家的优婆夷是女众的，就像那个那一块中等的这个田地刚才讲了3块嘛，中等的这个田地然后像这些的中等的田地呢，我也会非常乐意的跟他来讲善法，来讲方法给他们听，然后呢也会展现我清净修行的这个身教，就是说他会用身体来教导他们，他们也会遵照我的教法来修学，努力修学，然后他们也会得到这个利益安乐的。
So the middle, or the kind of say the land that is middle grade, this can come compared to my at-home disciples, the householders who become disciples, the upasikas and upasakas. The upasikas are the men, and the upasakas are the I think upasika is men, and upasika is female. And so for them, I am delighted also to teach them the Dharma, to really show them the way, so they can cultivate accordingly and find true peace and happiness.
所以这个是第2块啦。然后呢，他又跟他讲村长现在就像这个尼乾子就是这个第3块的尼乾子，这一些人呢，他是外道 专门在学外道的人呢，就像好像那很贫瘠又很有缘分的这些的农田呢，但是呢，我也会给他们来说法的。
So what is the infertile land? These are those of outside ways. You can say those seeking outside for a spiritual path. They have resentment in their hearts, seeking, maybe you could say, fame and power and being number one. And so for them, I also teach them the Dharma.
然后呢，他也会来展现他的他修行的身教啊，因为佛陀他是不放弃任何一个人嘛，所以呢，他也会来跟他们说教，然后来身教，然后希望他们能够听进去多少就算多少啦，只要他能够听进去一句法呢，他也能够享受这一句法的这个安乐利益呀。
So I still try my best to teach them, to show them the way with my lifetime of practice. And however, for them, they're only able to absorb so much. But I just hope that they can learn even just one phrase of Dharma. And in that one phrase of Dharma, they can find peace and happiness.
所以呢，这时候村长他就觉得，佛陀啊，你好，奇特啊，奇谈啊，他那时候叫他奇谈啊，你好奇特，就非常的特别啊，用那么善巧的3种田来做比喻解说。
So this head chief was duly impressed. He said, "Wow, Buddha, what you teach is so extraordinary that you use these 3 pieces of land as a metaphor, as an analogy to illustrate your teachings."
所以呢，他当然这样子讲出来，村长讲出来，他就了解啦。然后呢，他七谈就是佛陀又跟他再打一个比方，就是另外再举另外一种比喻来讲。他说：“村长啊，我再打一个比方，就是好像有3个水瓶啊，这个三个水瓶就是装水的这个水瓶啊，有3个这样子。”
So the Buddha said, "Let me give you another analogy. So imagine that there's 3 vases."
那第一个水瓶呢，就是说非常完好，它不会漏的，都装水都不会漏的这个水瓶，然后也没有裂痕。那第二个呢，这个水瓶呢，它外观虽然很好，但是呢，它有一点点的裂痕，这个有一点点。那第3个水瓶呢，它是不仅是会漏这个水瓶呢，而且也会切损，所以第3个就是说，你装了水都会一直在漏这样子。
So the Buddha says there's 3 vases. One is very well made. There's no cracks in it. It's kind of complete. So you put water in it, no water comes out. The second one looks very nice on the outside, but you could see little small cracks. So when you put water in it, it leaks a little bit. The third one is, you could say, really in bad shape. And it's got maybe holes and cracks, and so you pour water in it and it just all flows out.
所以佛陀就问他说：“那你知道有这个3个水瓶，你说你要用哪一个？”那这个村长呢，这个道士就跟他讲啊：“其谈啊，当然我是先用那个最好的来装水，因为不会漏水这样子。”
So then the Buddha asked this head chief, he says, "Head chief, if you had to carry water, which one would you use?" Now this head chief, who is this master knife maker, said, "I would use the well-made vase. That one would be the one that allows me to carry water, that's the best one.
然后呢，佛陀又跟他讲就是说呢，那你再来呢，你是会用哪一个来装水瓶？因为第一个他说他用第一个嘛，第二个呢，你会外观是无缺啦，但是有一点裂缝啊，那就用第二，假如说这个水装完了第一个，然后再来装第二个呢，这样子也是可以，因为只有一点点裂缝。
So the Buddha asked him, well, if you had to choose a second choice, which one would you choose of these vases? And this headmaster said, well, I'll just pick the second one. If the first one was full and I had to choose the next one, then I'd do the second one because there's a small crack and it'll leak a little bit. And so I would pick the second vase to fill up next.
然后呢，他说你两个都装了水啦，那剩下还有水的话怎么办呢？他说那我就只有拿这个最第三个呢有缺损的瓶子来装，或是他是说或者来暂时能够存一点水，但是呢或者我就根本就不拿来装水，我就把这些水呢来洗盘子啦，我就不再装这个第三个破的这个瓶子啦。
So the Buddha says, oh, how about you have those 2 vases filled up and you still have some water, then what do? Well, this head chief said, well, a village chief said, well, I guess I could pour some of that water into the third vase, but that vase is really broken and doesn't hold any water. So maybe it's just a waste to put water in there. I might just use the water to wash the dishes.
所以呢，祭坛就讲村长那个完好没有缺陷的，没有裂缝的水瓶呢，这些就像我的比丘比丘尼出家的弟子，它是没有裂缝的水瓶。然后呢，第二种呢，就是像优婆塞、优婆夷的在家弟子，是有一点点的这个裂缝然后第三个呢，就像泥钱子的这些外道一样的这个破损的这个瓶子。
So the Buddha said, okay, village chief, this analogy connects in this way. So the first vase that is complete and well made, this represents the bhikshus and bhikshunis who are left home and cultivate the way. The second is those who are householder disciples who learn the Dharma and apply it. The third vase are those of other outside ways, like the Niganta, follow Niganta. And this is like the vase it's kind of broken and cracked and got holes in it.
所以呢，佛陀呢跟他这样子的来举两个很贴切的这个例子呢，来破这个泥钱子的这个外道的这个思想呢，这个刀师村长呢听了以后呢，他觉得很恐怖，觉得他讲的释迦牟尼佛讲的道理非常好，他就赶快来顶礼，来佛祖，来顶礼释迦牟尼佛，然后呢来忏悔，跟他说：世尊我是非常的愚痴不辨是非他就是说讲他的这个老师呢，他是不是很好的老师，所以我在这个世尊的前面呢胡说乱语，请他原谅。 他跟他忏悔。
So the Buddha, after the Buddha gave these very good analogies, and really you could say, Paul, I would say, is to kind of out debate, or not really even debate. He just kind of was able to show the confusion in the questioning of that Nagantha had first asked this village chief to pose. And so he really exposed the kind of the confusion. And so this village chief, after going through this discussion, was, you could say, frightened, because he really heard these very solid principles. And so he then bowed to the Buddha and repented, saying, Venerable World Honored One, I was very foolish. I came here with this mind of wanting to debate and prove I'm right, because I have not a good teacher, a teacher who told me to come and debate with you. And I really repent of this and wish for your forgiveness.
好，在法纪经里面呢，它也有一篇法纪经啊。刚才是阿含经，现在我在法纪经里面也有一篇呢，就是人生难得，然后呢闻法甚难，然后佛出世呢世间更难。
Okay, so next we'll have a story from the Dhammapada. I was thinking maybe I could reflect a little bit about the story before we move to the next story. I think in this story from the Agamas, it's, you could say, a lot of drama in it, right? You see this village chief who is a knife maker, probably very skilled in his craft, that people consider him a master knife maker. And he has a spiritual teacher who, tries to have him go and debate with the Buddha. And I think if you really look at the question, I think the Gantha was trying to have the Buddha say, oh, you're unable to teach everybody. You say you want to teach everyone, but you can't, and therefore you're going to out-debate the Buddha, because there are some people the Buddha can't teach. And so he's just trying to say, I'll give you a way to out-debate the Buddha. So this village chief goes, and I think what's interesting, if you look at it, is that the Buddha turns the question around, right? Rather than having the onus on the Buddha to teach living beings, he turns it around and says, actually, how receptive are living beings? In fact, he's always teaching the Dharma. He's always trying to care for and support. But living beings have different levels of receptivity. In the Lotus Sutra, I think we are given the analogy of how the Dharma comes down like rain, and all the different plants, from the trees to the bushes to the grass, absorb the Dharma according to their potential. So similar principle. So the Buddha, in this turn, skillfully has this village chief, this knife maker, reflect on himself. Who am I? What is my potential? Can I really learn the Dharma? And I think clearly in this analogy, the village chief realizes, I'm infertile soil. Nothing can grow in my life of cultivation, because my mind is, stuck in views and attachments and in fighting and debating. Nothing can grow there. I think this is a useful reflection for ourselves, because the Buddha uses these three as examples: a monastic, a householder, and those cultivating outside ways. But I think we can use it as a reflection for ourselves, because, even as monastics, you can be cultivating outside ways. So, for instance, what would it look like? I would say that somebody who's very fertile is someone who really lets go of all the worldly kind of values, the kind of seeking money, seeking fame, seeking a kind of attractive appearance, being the best. So it's somebody who really renounces the world and puts their full heart, full dedication to the Dharma. And how that manifests in a lifestyle is leaving home, becoming a monastic. But perhaps each of us can tap into that place in our own hearts when we learn the Dharma. And the second is those who are householder disciples. So they still want to learn the Dharma, but maybe they don't give their full life to it, kind of half-half, right? They really wish to cultivate, but at the same time they have responsibilities out in the world. Okay? That's the second. So sometimes we think about the world, sometimes we think about the Dharma. Now this third category, and it's a good chance to reflect for ourselves, is those who just think about stuff in the world and even twist the Dharma into worldly values. How does that happen? Well, I start using Dharma to out-debate other people. So I learn a principle and I go, my principle is right, their principle is wrong, and I'm going to prove that I'm right. That's using the Dharma actually unskillfully, not to get free of suffering, but in fact to increase suffering for myself and the other person, caught in right and wrong. And so I think this is actually a useful reflection for ourselves, is are we the fertile land? Are we the middle grade land? Are we the infertile land? And I think right there for this village chief, as he was listening to the Buddha speak, seeing the Buddha's, you could say, appearance, which must have been very peaceful and at ease and kind of radiant, and just realized, wow, I come here and I had the wrong attitude, right? I'm like this infertile soil that nothing can grow in. And maybe he's starts out a little bit tough. I'm going to be right. I'm going to prove myself to be the right one. But as he's listening, he realizes, ooh, I don't really know what I'm getting myself into. And so he softens a little bit. Okay, maybe I can learn a little bit. And the Buddha then gives him another analogy. And he actually engages the village chief now. So rather than the village chief just listening, he actually asked the village chief himself, how would he interact with these 3 vases? And I think the vases is actually an interesting way to look at cultivation, because whereas the first one was just ability to absorb the teachings and kind of have something actually grow, the third one is actually to be able to hold it without just leaking out. And so, again, I think the village chief realizes, wait a moment, I think I'm this leaking vase. The Buddha is teaching me Dharma, and I'm here to fight. And at that point he realizes, actually, I don't want to be so leaky. I actually want to learn the Dharma, and so he repents. And you can say repenting is one way to fix the leaks, fix the holes. So I think this is an interesting story, because number one, it helps us turn our mind around. But rather than looking outside for some kind of magical Dharma, say, oh, I need to find the Buddha, and the Buddha's going to teach me this, and I'm going to wake up. It turns it around and says, what kind of soil am I? Am I fertile soil? Am I middle grade soil? Am I infertile soil? And what kind of vase am I? Am I a vase that's well made without leaks, without cracks? Or do I have a few cracks? Or am I completely a leaky vessel that doesn't hold any water? And if we're the third, then it would be a good idea to actually really reflect and see, how can I improve? How can I have more fertile soil How can I fix the leaks? And that way we can really hold the Dharma. 所以我就简单的来解释，是说这个故事呢，我觉得蛮有意思的，因为你看到这个外道老师呢，叫这个村里的这个什么村头嘛，村长啊，跟佛陀去辩论。可以对一个来说，你要跟佛陀辩论不是好的主意。佛陀的辩论能力比众生的能力多太多了。刚刚我们在读这个经文已经说了，佛陀每一个众生都成道，在观想佛的智慧都不能理解佛的智慧，所以要跟佛陀来辩论不是好的主意。但是呢，他又有个这个主意 ，OK， 好，我去跟佛陀辩论。怎么辩论呢？说我一想，佛陀是不是可以救一切众生？因为本来就想到说，佛没有救一切众生啊，这个一定他会是错了，因为他可以救一切众生，他没有做到，就这个什么矛盾，对不对？他就赢了，所以他去问佛陀，但很有意思是佛陀回答的方式，给这个村长呢转过来，不是看佛陀是不是教众生，是看众生能不能真正吸收佛法。他就给这个两个比喻，就简单的来说，这个肥的土啊，或者这个完美的这个瓶呢，这个村长呢就发觉他真正的是一个没有肥料的土，也是一个有肉的一个瓶子，所以他就忏悔。他发觉佛陀讲的道理真的是对的，甚至于我现在都要跟他辩论，但是他还是来教我，所以他就开始忏悔，然后最后忏悔，希望他可以往好的方向走。所以我想这个比喻呢，也可以对我们的修行是一个反省。怎么来说呢？我们是不是肥的土，或者是一个中的土，或者是一个没肥料、不能种东西的土？我们可以去想一想，没有不能种那个最不好的土呢是怎么样呢？如果我们是完全心里都是在世间上的是是非非、争吵的、求名求利的，甚至于我们学佛法都是为了我们自己的这个利益，没有真正去学佛法是要放下，反而用佛法来跟别人辩论，想要是对，想要赢，这个就是不是真正用到佛法的真义。反而我们这个学佛法呢，是为了了生脱死、离苦得乐，就是要了苦，要得到真正的安乐。所以佛陀这个佛法就是因为这个道理的。或者我们是不是漏呢？我们学到东西就不会去真的去用，然后我们就完全都忘记了。这个让我们去观想一下，我是不是可以把我的生命真正奉献来学习修行佛法？我可不可以真正的学到的法呢，不忘，不把它漏掉？我想这个是对我们来说一个很好的一个回想。好，然后我想这个法句经 ，so the Dhammapada story, and this story talks about how difficult it is to have a human life, and how difficult it is for the Buddha to come to this world.
这个法句经，这个也是非常好的一个故事。它这个是在第14篇里面呢。他这个名字就叫做龙王，还有他的女儿。
So this is a very good story. The story number 14. It's about a dragon king and his daughter.
他这个呢，他这个龙王呢，他的名字叫做伊罗卡巴达，他这个是发生。他在迦受佛的时候呢，他是一个比丘，比丘没有修行好呢， 他后来就修行没有好好修行，就后来就变成龙了。
So let me see what this dragon's name is. I don't think here. Okay, maybe I found it here. Okay, so I have the story here. 1 second. So, okay. So there was this dragon king who was during the time of, in the past, was actually a bhikshu, a monk, in the time of the Buddha Kashyapa. But at that time when he was a monk, he was not a really diligent cultivator, so he ended up as a dragon.
他成龙了以后呢，当然是在龙宫那边呢，他那边有一个非常美丽的女儿，他们龙也会生小孩子的，他生了一个非常美丽漂亮的女儿，然后呢，他像龙的话呢，他们都会变成人的，变成人形的，他有这个能力，他后来他就公开讲呢，假如说有人能够来回答他的这个女儿的所有问题呢，就可以来娶她为妻子啦，就娶她做太太了。
So this dragon king had a very beautiful daughter, and as a beautiful daughter, she could also transform into a human form. And so this dragon king made a public announcement: if there's anyone who can answer all of my daughter's questions, he can be married to my daughter.
所以呢，他每个月就2次呢，他们都化成化成人啦，化成人以后呢，这个女儿呢，她就在公共场所里面来跳舞啊、唱歌啊这样子。唱完以后呢，她并且呢提出问题，看有没有人能够回答她的问题。
So every month, twice a month, they would become humans, the Dragon King and his daughter. And his daughter would go to the maybe public square and dance and sing, and then ask her questions and see if anyone could respond to them.
但是呢，经过了很多时间呢，都没有人一个答得非常正确的。但是有一天呢，他这个佛陀，他透过神通，他知道呢，有一个人叫做优达罗的年轻人呢，他可以来回答这些问题。
So they went many times, and people tried to answer the questions, but they weren't able to truly answer them correctly. And so over time, time passed, and one day the Buddha, using his spiritual powers, realized there was one man named Yodalo who had the ability to answer these questions.
而且呢，这个答了以后呢，这个年轻人呢，男的年轻人，他可以得到这个正道出国。
So even Uttara, yeah, so Uttara. So and the Buddha, when knew that this young man named Uttara, if he were to answer these questions, would actually become a first stage arhat.
所以呢，这个由他了，他就准备去回答他的问题。那佛陀知道就把他拦下来，然后告诉他这个真正的答案。所以呢，这个由他啦听完佛陀的答案后，他当时呢他就证道出国。
So the Buddha then got this man and told him the true answers to the questions. And when the Uttara heard the answers to these questions, he immediately became a stream winner of first stage arhat.
所以呢，他对于这个龙女啊，就是这个他的女儿呢，这个欲望呢，也就完全就消失了。 因为他本来他要娶她当太太的，他就没有这个念头，完全的消失了。
So also this wish to have this dragon girl be his wife completely dissolved because he no longer had this desire because he had realized the Shotapana, the first stage arhat.
所以呢，他也把这个正确的答案呢来说出来给大家了解，来利益他人。
So he told the correct answers for everyone, hoping that everyone could be benefited from it.
他这个跟龙女的这个对答呢，他是第一个问题，谁是统治者
？So what was the exchange with the dragon girl? The first question is,
Who is 统治？统治就是什么人去统治你啊？就是就是统治啊，统治就是把你谁去控制你啦
？Who controls you?
Yeah， 然后这个回答是六根是统治者。
He says the six senses are the control you.
那第二个问题呢？那假如说这个德恨不足的人，是不是可以称为统治者呢？
So
德恨 yeah.
somebody who does not have enough virtue, can they become one who's in control?
Yeah. 那这个他这个答案是说，不可以缺陷的人呢，不可以称为统治者，要毫没有私心的人才是可以称为统治者。
So it says no. Someone who lacks virtue cannot be considered one who is in control. Only someone who has absolutely no selfishness in their heart can be considered one who is in control.
那第三个问题呢，就是说什么样子的统治者呢？他是没有德行上的缺陷。
So what kind of person who is in control does not have any flaws in their virtue?
Yeah， 这个就是毫无私心呐，就是说没有私心的人，也就是说你德行上是没有缺陷的。
So he says that's one who is completely without selfishness in their heart. That is somebody who is complete in virtue without any flaws.
第四个呢，问题呢，就是说，那什么样子是愚痴的人呢？
So number fourth question is, who is a stupid person, foolish person?
那这个回答是，就是追求感官啦，就是说我们的六根的这个感官的人呢，是非常愚痴的，就是我们跟着六根在跑的人呢，这个是最愚痴的人。
So someone who runs after the six senses, that's somebody who is really foolish.
所以呢，这个算龙女听了这个正确答案呢，然后呢又继续来请教啊，怎么样子邪见啊，这些无明呢，这些方法呢，这个优塔罗都遵照佛的教法来一一的来回答他。
So from there, the Dragon King asked more Dharma questions about how does one, I would say maybe, so for instance, how do you let go of desire and wrong views and ignorance, right? How do you really have ways of countering one's confusion? And he asked a lot of these different questions. And so Uttara responded back using the teachings of the Buddha.
所以呢，这时候这个就是龙王还有他女儿知道说，哦，现在是释迦牟尼佛在世间啦，他逐渐出现在这个世间啦，所以呢，他们就请这个年轻人呢带他去见面这个佛陀，顶礼佛陀。
So the Dragon King and the daughter realized, oh, Shakyamuni Buddha is in the world. So they asked this young man, Uttara, to bring them to the Buddha, to see Shakyamuni Buddha.
所以呢，这个龙王也就顺便讲他以前呢，他是怎么样子修行变成龙的这个原因，所以佛陀就跟他解释啊，人生难得啊，这个佛陀难遇啊，就是佛陀要出现，这个是很难得，然后佛法也是难闻的。
So the Dragon King went to see the Buddha and told him about his past life and how he became a dragon. And then Buddha listened and said, truly coming back and having a human life is not easy. Being able to meet the Buddha is also not easy. Being able to learn the Buddha Dharma is truly not easy.
所以呢，佛陀这个说完，讲话完以后呢，当时的很多的舍利佛，他们还有这些弟子呢，他们都证到了阿罗汉，当中有很多人也都证了出果啦。
So at that time, after the Buddha spoke, many disciples like Shariputra and others became an arhat, and other disciples also became first stage arhats.
好，我们这个故事讲完了。另外，我再讲一个非常我们要了解的这个法本皆空啊，这个我们刚才有讲了，这个有偈颂里面呢，这个法本来都是空的，这个我们的这个禅宗第三代祖师的这个真忏的故事。
So next story is about 法本皆空. The dharmas are fundamentally empty.
在北齐天平年间啊，这个北齐就是应该是在这个会口是二祖嘛，这个算北齐应该是唐朝以前啊，然后呢，有一位居士啊，那时候呢，有一个居士还没有出家的居士呢，40多岁了，他来礼拜这个二祖，二祖啊，我们知道这个二祖初祖是达摩，那二祖神光，二祖会口神光嘛，来礼拜这个二祖。
So the story is about the second patriarch, Dharma Master or Chan Master Huike, also named Chan Master Sengguang. So I think this is before the Tang Dynasty. And there was a lay person who was over 40 years old who came to see the second patriarch, Chan Master Sengguang. The first patriarch is Bodhidharma, and then he passed the Dharma to Chan Master Sengguang.
Yeah, Sengguang. 然后呢，他跟他礼拜啦，跟二祖礼拜啦，就跟他说：“哦，弟子呢，我的身上有很多的疾病啊，很缠身啦，这个就是说，身体很不舒服啦，这样子。那请和尚来给我忏悔，这些罪孽。
忏悔啊？
忏悔，给他，请二祖来跟他忏悔，那给他就不给这些罪孽就没有啦，就是这样子啦。
So this lay person came to see the second patriarch and said, this disciple has many illnesses, the body has a lot of problems and it's not comfortable. I come here and want to repent, to be able to eradicate my karmic offenses.
像这个事情呢，我们现在世间有很多的。
So there's a lot of people,
身体上有很多的。
people who have a lot of physical difficulties.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of people have this.
Yeah, 现在都有。还有呢，他这时候的这个祖师会口跟他说呢，好啊，你把你的这些罪孽拿出来，我来替你忏悔。
So the second picture said, okay, no problem. Take out your offenses, show it to me, and I can help you repent.
所以呢，当时这个居士呢40多岁的居士呢，考虑了很久，我找不到我的罪孽啊，是哪里罪孽在哪里呢？所以呢，他就讲说啊，我的罪孽呢，不可得，我找不到我的罪孽这些。
So this layperson said, okay. He's over 40 years old, and so he's kind of looking around thinking, how can I find my afflictions? How can I find my karmic obstructions? And he looked for a while and thought about it. He said, I can't find it. And so he told the second patriarch, Chan Master Sun Guang, I can't find my karmic obstructions.
那这个二祖讲啊，我已经把你的这个罪孽呢忏悔完了，但是呢，你现在你就是要来皈依佛法僧三宝。
So Chan Master Shen Guang tells him, okay, so I've already cleared away your karmic obstructions, or repented of your karmic obstructions. Now you must take refuge with the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha.
那时候这个居士啊，这个40多岁的居士说啊，我今天呢见到这个和尚你啊，就是二祖啊，知道是真是什么，我只是知道你是一个真人，但是我还不知道这个佛是什么，然后法是什么，
僧啊，是僧团啊。
对，他说你知
Oh,
道
okay,
和
okay.
尚
So, okay, so
是一
he's
个真人，
so this man said, I came here, and now meeting you, I know what a sangha is, because the second patriarch is a monastic, the sangha. But I don't know who's the Buddha and what's the Dharma.
他很多疑问哈。
A lot of questions, you see.
所以呢，这个二祖说是心是佛啊，你的心里面就是佛啊；是心是法，你的心里面呢就是法。这个佛跟法无二，是没有不同的，就是在同一个地方。
So the second patriarch said, just what's in your heart is the Buddha. What's in your heart is the Dharma. There's no duality between the Buddha and the Dharma.
所以呢，这时候这个居士啊，这个居士，他就马上就说：“哦，我今天又明白了，罪孽他就是他要来赎罪的嘛。罪孽呢，它不在内，也不在外，也不在中间，就是在人的本身里面一样的，人的本心啊，心一样的在里面。”
So this layperson said, wow, now I understand. So karmic obstructions are not inside or outside. They're also not in the middle. They're just like our fundamental nature.
所以呢，这种的罪性本空的思想呢，就是成为我们这个后面这个禅坐禅为的一个最重要的一个说法。
So we found out that the offenses are empty has become a fundamental teaching within the Chan school.
所以呢，这一位居士呢，有这样子的一个见解呢，他非常得到这个二子会口的欣赏的赏识啊，就是非常来尝试，就是说他非常欣赏他，所以呢，二子就给他剃发了，就给他就剃头佛法了，给他起名为真忏。
真忏啊？
就是二祖嘛，三祖嘛，他是第三禅。
他是三祖啊，叫真忏。真忏啊，是真忏忏悔啊。生忏，这个什么忏啊？
应该是忏。
Okay, so this person understood what the second patriarch was saying, and deeply admired the second patriarch, and so immediately the second patriarch actually shaved this person's head, and he left home, and actually became the third patriarch named Sun Chan. I'm not sure what the Chan refers to, but he left home and became the third patriarch. So this must be a very famous story from the transmission from the second to the third patriarch.
忏对，真忏所以呢，这个后来不久呢，二子就给这个真忏，因为他把他剃发变成真人了嘛，然后就传法给他，然后又传他的衣给他，并且就告诉他啦，你要稳居在深山里面，现在还不可以出来去教化这样子，也要避开这个国难，就是说希望你去做善行啦，去行善啦，等到时机，然后再传法给别人这样子。
So this person, this layperson, became a monk named Dharma Master Sun San. And so not long after that, the second patriarch told him, who was a monk, that, okay, I've transmitted you the Dharma, the robe. You need to stay in the mountain for a period of time and not come out, because the world is quite, you could say maybe in dire straits, a lot of disasters. But you just wait, and there'll be a right time when its conditions are right to teach the Dharma.
他这个所以呢，他这个真忏呢，就成为中国禅宗的第三位祖师这样子。
So this is how Dharma or Chan Master Sun San became the third patriarch in China.
因为呢，他当时他这个避开国难他这个所谓国难呢，他是的背景呢，他是那时候是南北朝的时候，南北朝呢，有一些是在复兴佛法，有一些是在灭佛运动的。那时候呢，有一些他不信佛教，他是灭佛的。
So what were the disasters of the country? During that time was the Nanbei, the southern and northern dynasties, and I think that those times there's a lot of fighting. And sometimes those who won were supportive of Buddhism, sometimes they were not supportive of Buddhism, they destroyed Buddhism, so a very tumultuous time.
所以呢，像佛教还有儒教就是孔子教，还有道教，他们都互相来抗衡的，就是互相，他们都是在比较的，尤其在北方呢，他还有会争论的非常厉害，还有什么华夷之辩这个华就是说在北方的地方，中国北方就是靠近，他们有一些他是非常排斥的，所以呢，他那时候宗教呢，之争呢是都含有政治的意识的，政治运动这样子。
So during that time, there's also a lot of competition among religions between Buddhism, Confucianism, and Taoism. So in the north, there was a lot of kind of discriminations and debates, and religions kind of fought a lot.
这个法本皆空，像这个三子的故事，我想我们今天就讲到这里啦。那我们这个本空呢，净慧本空，我们的经文里面呢，其实我们仙公上人在这个般若波罗蜜多心经的地方呢，他也有非常的多的解释。因为今天的时间，我们就不再多介绍啦。
So the third patriarch story here is teaching us about how everything is ultimately empty. And also Master Hua in his Heart Sutra commentary talks about this. Given the time, I won't go into that tonight.
我想我们来介绍一个刚才有讲到一个大迦摄，一个迦摄佛的这个我想来，因为这个我们的佛法呢是释迦牟尼佛传给大迦摄的，然后再传给阿难的，这个我们来提一下。
时间够吗？时间就这样了。
可能呢，好。
Okay.
不然就我们下次也可以。
We can also tell the story maybe next time.
Yeah.
In terms of time-wise, it's probably 9. But the story that we can wait for the next episode is around Venerable Mahakāshyapa. Venerable Mahakāshyapa was the second, you could say, how do you say, maybe the first patriarch of the Chan school. The Buddha passed on the Dharma to Venerable Mahakāshyapa, who then passed it on to Venerable Ananda. So maybe next time we will go into this story. Okay?
Yeah.
So maybe to conclude, we will be having a break from our morning and evening ceremonies starting on Saturday. We'll still have mornings chanting, but after that we'll be on a break all the way to July 20th. We have Buddha Root Farm coming up, and so a lot of the community here will be going up to help out with the preparations and the actual retreat, and we're returning on July 20th. So if you've been following our daily recitations, you can find recordings on our berkeleymonastery.org website, and hopefully you can still practice there. So really encourage you. Other than that, I think that's Jing Fosher starting on Saturday, because tomorrow there's no ground bell. We will have the Amitabha recitation beginning at 12:30 p.m. So the ground bell in the afternoon at 12 is moved back 30 minutes. So it's 12:30 to 1 p.m.
1, yeah. 然后礼拜六佛法那个法会一样照常 2 o'clock to 3:30。中间我们还是有晚3点以后，我们还是有讲佛法的，希望大家能够踊跃参加，跟以往一样的来参加每礼拜六的法会。中午一样的，我们不断的来念佛，也希望大家踊跃参加。
So, and from then on, the afternoon recitation will be from 12:30 to 1 p.m. Okay?
Yeah.
So let's dedicate merit.
Okay.
May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace, with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may our minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of our endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. Okay, so wish everyone a good evening and hope you can join us next week for
Next week 下礼拜四同样时间
continue our Sutra lecture and you can learn about Venerable Mahakashyapa.
嗯哼
Okay, wish you well. Amitabha.
阿弥陀佛，祝大家平安吉祥快乐。